When I was facing it, it was this like cloud. It was this explosion. I felt it on my, like from my toes all the way up. Danielle's hair kind of blew back. And I'm like, what just happened? And I didn't even have time to process what had happened because the second one went off.
Immediately. Yeah.
Immediately. I mean, immediately. People are panicking. Her and I, she's a strong girl. Her and I took the barriers that kind of kept the crowd back, and we just pulled it down and just said, fucking run. We had people running into the marathon course. I'm like, just take off.
Thoughts and opinions by Job Talks podcast members and guests are not representative of any department, organization.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Job Talks podcast. We have a guest with us today, Deputy Superintendent of Boston EMS, Janell Jimenez. Thanks for coming in, Janell.
Thank you for having me, guys. What a pleasure.
Yeah, we're excited about this one. Barry's going to take us through it, but we're excited about this one.
I know. Me too.
All right, we're reunited. So I'm going to take this one off. So just to kind of give you guys a little bit of background. So Janell and I went to the USAR medical specialist course. Will was also there, but his squad was less notable per se. But anyway.
Just because we were better?
I don't know about that. But anyway, so so the nexus behind this episode, guys. So Janell was in my group, was an immediate standout. And I knew her from somewhere. And turns out she, second only to Mark Wahlberg, is on the Netflix special American Manhunt about the Boston Marathon bombing. So anyway, we'll dive into that. But we became our squad ended up really bonding. We became great friends, and it ended up being a really great learning and friendship experience. So I had asked Janell if she wanted to come on the show to talk about Boston EMS. It's obviously a very unique third service agency. As most people would know, I hope at this point, Will and I work in Cambridge, but they're kind of our big brothers across the river. So it's a cool agency that we wanted to highlight the work that Janell and her employees are doing each and every day, and then just to kind of talk about some of the unique things that have happened during her career. So Janell, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It was nice seeing you again, Barry and Will. Even though you were the other squad, we still like you.
Yeah, you weren't bad. You were the second best squad for sure.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna take that because you're our guest. You know, I gotta be nice. Gotta be nice to the guests.
But I love my squad. I just want to just let you guys know, like, the moment that we got put into squads, and I saw Barry, I saw Rob, I saw Derek, I saw Taylor, which I used to call Tyler, and he yelled at me in the rubble pile. He's like, "It's Taylor." I'm like, "Okay, so sorry." Like, we just hit it off, and I just want to let you guys know, like, Cambridge Fire, the guys and that went there, absolutely, you guys are top notch, and I would work with you guys any day. So thank you guys for like just highlighting yourselves and like really showing what like outstanding work is, because you guys gave it 110%. So it made it easier for us from Boston EMS to just kind of vibe with you guys. So that was great.
No, it really was a great experience.
Yeah, we appreciate that. It was.
I specialized in like going into the rubble pile and then asking Janell med math that I was capable.
I was gonna say it worked really well because it felt like in our group, like the guys from the fire side were really useful in like extrication, knots, and like that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And then we'd get there and be like, so what's the dose for this stuff? And like the med questions and all the medical stuff was definitely, you guys bore the brunt of that. And and
it
definitely,
was like, oh my God, just give me the weight, and we just started doing everything. I'll tell you guys, like, it was for me an experience because I don't do rescue. Obviously, like we're medical, and just to see how like you guys went in there, got through like some small spaces. I went in with Taylor at one point, and there was like this rebar, and I'm like, I'm not gonna get through that. And I saw him, and he just kind of like slid in like a slug and went out. And I was like, well, I'm gonna follow what he did. And you know what I love that he did? He waited for me, and he was like, give me your hand, and he just pulled me through the rest of the tunnel. And I was like, well, this is what teamwork is like. And I'm like, wow, they got it. So I just kind of followed what he did, and then became like the girl that did like the med map. I'm like, I got it. And I was just like labeling the medicine and like without even asking for it, I was like, here you go, got it. So that
you were anticipating things before they were even like asked for. Is awesome.
Yeah, that was good. It was good teamwork.
I also have to say we had Molly on our side, and she was actually our tunnel rat. So she was just like, she was like small and all about it. It was just like, wanted to be the first one in like every time, like just as far as she could go.
Shit. That girl's good.
Yeah, it was great. It was great.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of like the highlight and maybe the title of the episode right there is like teamwork. Like it was really good. Like you don't get to interface often, and like when you interface in a neutral plane, you realize like just working together, and we're all just people that are passionate about the craft, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I would train with you guys any day, and you know, I think at sometimes like people go into some like training situations and are like, oh, this is so artificial. I don't think anybody took it as artificial. Like we were all there. Like I've never been in such a small confined space, and I had to just kind of get over that because at the end of the day, we had a mission to do, and my group just vibed. Like we just worked so well together. And I'm like,
we really did.
Like real life, I could totally go with the same group of guys that were there and like do this in real life.
For real,
so I just appreciated how like everybody took it so serious. And I don't think the instructors there were gonna let us not take it serious. You know, they were
they were all
definitely shout out to FEMA. That confined space prop we had like before our final exercise, that was like the most realistic confined space prop I've ever.
That was the smallest space I've ever squeezed this sack of sausage into, for sure.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Fortified Leather. Fortified Leather is owned by Nathan Welch, a firefighter out in Selma, California. I've had the opportunity over the last few weeks to get to know Nathan and learn a lot about his business, and I couldn't be happier to have him as a sponsor of the show. Fortified Leather comes from humble family beginnings when Nathan found some leather working tools left over from an old relative. He was in need of a shield at the time and decided to try his hand at leatherwork, and we're certainly glad he did. Since then, Fortified Leather has grown from making that first shield to a solid business shipping quality leather-made goods all over the country. Fortified Leather makes leather suspenders, bunker belts, custom radio harnesses, glove holsters, flashlight holders, and a whole lot more. They're high quality and able to be customized, so if you're in the market, head over to fortifiedleather.com and check out our friend Nathan. Make sure to tell him that Job Talk sent you over. Don't forget to find him on all the social media channels, give him a follow and a shout out, and let's keep supporting our firefighter and family-owned businesses. Just wanted to let you guys know that we decided to create a Patreon account as well. Unfortunately, producing this podcast isn't free as much as we love doing it. Between the equipment, the software, and all the editing stuff, it costs money. We want to be around for the long haul, and we want to be able to provide you with good quality episodes and eventually hands-on training. To do that, unfortunately, we need to bring money in. So we have our Patreon account. You can go to patreon.com/jobtalks. That's patreon.com/JOBTLKS. We have 2-tier subscriptions. The first tier is $1 a month, basically just letting us know that you support what we're doing, and we really appreciate that. In exchange, we're going to give you 10% off any classes or lectures that we do in the future. We have another tier for $2.50 a month. And in that tier, we're going to actually invite you to be an audience as we record live episodes. So when we schedule an episode with a guest, you will get a link to your email to view that episode live as a guest. And then from that subscription, we're going to pick once or twice a season somebody to actually come on and be part of the episode with us. Right now, that's what we can offer, and we hope you guys like it. We hope you'll support us. So again, patreon.com/dobtalks, and we appreciate you.
It got real tight. Real tight in there.
Yeah. No. But anyway, so thank you so much for coming on. We're humbled that you'd come on the show. So I guess kind of leading off, do you want to tell us how did you initially get involved in EMS? Did you start at Boston EMS, or did you land there? Give us a little rundown on your career and how you ended up where you're at.
So basically, I was somebody that like my whole life, like my grandfather was a lawyer. So I wanted to become a lawyer. And then after graduating high school, I was like, that's a lot of school. So I had just, like a little summer job, and I saw one of my friends, I just turned 18, and she was like, oh, I'm in the EMT program. And I'm like, oh, tell me a little bit more about that. I was like intrigued because I always wanted to help people. I just wasn't sure like what my calling was going to be.
Yeah.
So I started going to school for criminal justice, thinking that I would take that and like go become a police officer. And then I turned 19 in May of 2001 and continued to go to school. And then all of a sudden 9/11 happened. And, you know, it's cliche because I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, I became an EMT because of 9/11. But honestly, like that was what solidified the fact that I was going to go to EMT school. I remember like the TV just showing first responders, you know, the fire, the police, EMS, just like civilians going in and helping. I'm like, oh my God, everybody's running away and they're running towards that. So that was September. October, I was already like enrolled in the program, did the program, loved it, did my hospital time, did my ride time, and started working for a private ambulance company. And that was like 2003, and started like really just loving like when they would say, hey, switch over to the 911 contract. So we would go over to like whatever channel it was. And I was like, well, I can do this. Like, I don't run away from blood. Like, I don't get like skeeved out. So then I went to paramedic school, and that was just it. That was it. I loved everything about medicine, and got my medic like at the end of, I think it was like August of 2004. I got my medic, worked for a little bit, and then Boston EMS was hiring, and I had a bunch of friends from the privates that had switched over to Boston EMS, and I went and took a test. 150 people sat in the auditorium and took a test. I was like, I am not going to have a shot at this, and ended up getting an email that I passed, and then you have to go and do the practical portion, and it was just kind of like a state practical. I went, I did that, and then ended up getting an interview, and I was one of the 20 that made it into the academy, and it's been just smooth sailing after that.
That's awesome. What private did you work for?
I worked for Fallon at the time, and then I went and worked for General Ambulance in Winthrop, and I did 911 there.
Awesome.
Very cool.
When I had my medic ticket.
Right.
Yeah. When you is that written test? Is it like medical questions, or is it like kind of like a civil service based,
like an aptitude?
No, it's like it was like medical questions, you know, as well as like protocol questions. I believe that test was like 100 questions, and it was hard. I mean, even at Boston EMS, like you can be a paramedic and you have to start off as an EMT. So when you go and become like a paramedic, you have to take a whole new test to get promoted within the department. Yeah. And that test, sometimes you feel like you're like not prepared. Like these questions asked, like they're like, they really challenge you because obviously you want to be the best of the best, and that's the reputation that we have.
Yeah. I've always felt like, sorry, Will.
No, I was just saying, I think that's one of the great things about third services is that they can do that, and like when you're not for profit, some of those like those obligations to the business go away, and you can transition them to obligations to like patient care.
Right.
Because I think third services have a really good reputation in general of being like really good providers.
Yeah.
It's just I think, you know, like after I got my chance to be in the academy and finished and everything, you almost had to wait for somebody to retire to try to go for the paramedic at Boston EMS. Yeah. So it hasn't been till like recently where we've been like promoting a lot more medics because a lot more people are retiring and more positions are opening up. But when I first started, you worked as an EMT for a long time before you got the chance to sit down and take a promotional process for Boston EMS. And then when you get into that promotional process, it is absolutely like you're not going to see your family. You are like, let's go, giddy up, because it is classroom time, ER time. You need to, you know, get a certain amount of intubations. Then you need to go out and do ride time in the medic truck. Then you get precepted. And I've never been in the military, but at times I felt like, I'm like, I don't even know if I can do this. Like I was like about to throw in the towel. But when I went through my process, I just thought to myself, like, you fought for so long to try to get this opportunity, like, keep your head in the game. And that's what I did. I mean, when they say run silent, run deep, that's exactly what I did during my internship until I got the exit interview and, you know, they give you scenarios. You have to go through the scenarios. What would you do?
Yeah.
And I walked away from the office to go hit the button to go in the elevator to wait. And I wasn't even in the elevator yet when they called me back and they said, congratulations, you know,
That's
you're a
awesome.
Boston paramedic. It was
That's
the
awesome.
best feeling in the world to get that white shirt. Like, I feel like most paper or, you know, EMTs, because that's what we work as.
Yeah.
That is the best feeling when you get that white shirt. You're chasing something. You want to be the best of the best because that's obviously like the reputation we have. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting because I feel like Boston is unique in that way that you have, like, obviously you run a certain amount of medic trucks and then you have your EMT trucks, but the vast majority of those providers are also medics. So I feel like it's highly competitive. That's awesome.
Yeah, you know, we have a very small amount of medic trucks, but the knowledge itself with the EMTs, it's incredible. You know, they cancel, oh, we don't need the medics, or sometimes they'll be like over the air, they'll be like, looks like failure or tight asthmatic. And when you hear specific crews, you're like, oh, you know, you step on it a little bit more. You're like, you're already thinking about what you're gonna be doing because you're like, they wouldn't ask for us or they wouldn't say keep them coming if this was like BPS, you know?
Yeah.
And Boston's kind of a unique system because, like, how many hospitals are in Boston?
Like every major
all of them.
trauma center. You know, we have all of them. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So running like light on medic trucks but high on knowledge is like a great thing because your transport times are super short and like you can put the medics where you need them like emergently and not like use them for every little call. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So it's like it's a unique system that I think works really well. It might not work somewhere in the Midwest, you know what I mean, but works really well for Boston.
I think one of the things that I noticed working in the privates is that Boston EMS, like our EMTs, we take a lot of things BLS. A shooting can go BLS unless they think, you know, this person's going to need like TXA or something, or, you know, pending intubation or whatever. But strokes, we take BLS. You know, we'll take a diabetic BLS. The EMTs are able to do glucagon now. They're able to do CPAP. So our practice has expanded on the BLS level. It's almost like pre-advanced, almost like they can act like advanced EMTs. So the EMTs are like, giddy up, let's go. What's the ETA of the medics? You know, forget about it. We have major hospitals in the city and we can get there. And that is like one of the things, but they know when to, like, you know, settle down and like go to come.
It's always been so interesting to see, like, obviously we're only separated by a river, but how different the two systems are, because we're on our side of the river, like we're so ALS heavy. You'll get like 8 paramedics for one call, and like we definitely ALS a lot of stuff that like probably could be BLS. I'll be the first to admit that. But it's just so interesting to see, like, we're so close to each other, and then like you cross the river and it's like two completely different system designs, but they both work. So it's just like this weird. Yeah.
We're always like, oh, it's on the Cambridge side. Let them take it.
We'll stand with our pitchforks. Like, no, walk a little bit further. Just keep going. Go.
Or you know, I'm like, oh, it's floating. It's gone. Oh, they got it. That's on there. They got it.
Yeah. So only because we're a multinational media conglomerate with viewers all around, maybe like 2 viewers in other countries, but tell us a little bit about like Boston EMS, like as far as like your daily staffing, like how many ambulances do you guys run on a given day? Just for the people that aren't from New England, tell us a little bit about BEMS and what your day-to-day looks like.
Yeah, so at one point I was the day shift commander. And so on the day shift you run a little bit heavier. So we'd like to put at least like have like 24 to 25 ambulances and then 5 ALS trucks, and they are like strategically, you know, scattered around the city. So our medic trucks are, you know, we have one that covers the West Zone, that's P5, you know, Hyde Park, Roslindale, West Roxbury. We have P2, which is, you know, the Roxbury truck. We have P1 that covers, you know, East Boston, Charlestown, downtown, P16. I think you guys would probably see them more if we ever do like a call that's kind of like borderline with Cambridge, P16 and P1. But you know, P2 and P3, like if they're out, we're sending them. You know, this P3 is like more like the Dorchester area, Mattapan. But it doesn't matter because it says Boston EMS on the side of the ambulance. So if a medic truck is out, they're out.
Yeah.
But we like to have the 24 to 25 ambulances at night. Obviously, we drop down a little bit more. And at night we have 3 ALS trucks. But you know, I think one of the things that I'm so proud of working as a medic and being like the night shift commander is when you have a crew that's like, we need ALS. Well, everybody's busy. You always have like our paramedics piping up and be like, hey, like we're going to get out of here in a second. If they start packaging or what do they got? And they, you know, everybody's just like gung ho, we're going. We never have people that like want to dodge a call. Like our medics and even our EMTs are like, you can document this after, we'll go and help out. So
do you guys run any? I know you have a fly car, right? Do you like, is that an ALS fly car, or do you guys run any fly cars?
No. So basically, like I'm not like I could, I guess, if I needed to like intercept and like do some practice, do some medicine, and I have in the past, but like I don't like my shift commander car is really to just run the shifts, go to the calls that are going to be like high profile that we're going to be at, you know, kind of just be like the presentation or the people that are representing Boston EMS. But if I had to, I could probably act as a fly car, but we do not have like paramedics that are in like SUVs that are going to like a call. I guess that's kind of like what your squad is, right? Like your squad's like, are you guys considered like fly cars? Or I know you guys are like a medic and then you go with pro.
So we're staffed with the squads are staffed with a lieutenant and a firefighter. Both are paramedics. So like I'd say like our predominant, so we're kind of like, I guess you could equate it to like a light rescue. Like we have enough of like most things to at least get most things started. So we have all the full like equipment of ALS gear. Then we have like light extrication equipment, hazmat, some basic technical rescue stuff, enough to like get most things started. But so like the way the system is designed is essentially, depending on what pro has available, but like if an ALS call comes in, we're supposed to get an ALS unit from pro, and then you'll get a squad or engine 1 is our medic engine. So you're supposed to also get an ALS unit from the fire department. And then if pro sends like a BLS unit, they'll send either a squad or engine 1 or the rescue company that staff with paramedics. And we have the Lucases. So if it's an arrest, we'll go as well. So
just like a first response where we're like, we're situated through the city, so we can get people there quick with the idea that we can start treatment and ultimately hand it off as the goal to the transporting company. And then if the seriousness or call volume or whatever dictates, then we can hop in. And then we also can put medics at the end of like tech rescue. So like if you have somebody that's having an emergency in a crane, not only can we like affect a tech rescue, but we can put a medic up there with them, or, you know, in a car, whatever the case is. So it's kind of, it's a unique system, and it's not, you don't see it too many places like we have it. It's a pretty unique, pretty cool system, I think.
When I got promoted to deputy superintendent, like I think one of the hardest things for me was to like realize like you're not the medicine, you're not providing medicine. So like to jump out of my car and like go and be like, what do you need? And like that's not what I'm supposed to do. Like I'm supposed to take a step back. I am there to just take the whole scene in, you know, just basically command, right? Because I'm a shift commander. So I feel that like if I am more like preoccupied in what's going on in the back of the ambulance and medicine, like I've completely lost what I got promoted to do. You know, like I need to make sure that like logistics is done. My lieutenants are great on the night shift. My captain, I had Tony O'Brien. You guys met him at USAR. He was my night captain. He was phenomenal. Like I knew that I could trust him and my lieutenants with the city if multiple things were going on at once. So I feel that for me to like be kind of just like hyper focused on medicine and doing that, like it's it would take away from what's going on in the rest of the city, because I have to, at night, it's just me. Like, like, if shit hits the fan on nights, it's me, my 2 lieutenants, and my captain, and we're running the whole city. So on the day shift, you have the chief, the second in command, the third in command that can come out and kind of help you. On nights, like, my lifeline, I'm waking people up if I have to. So I try not to. I try to just, my medics and my EMTs can handle what they need to do. And I'm going to do what I have to do as a shift commander. And that is not like, I never want to micromanage my crews. I always say, like, build a team so strong that nobody knows who the leader is. And that's how I practice. I don't micromanage. I go in, I just do my thing. If I have to talk to somebody, I talk to them with respect. Because that's, at the end of the day, my reputation is everything. And if my crews don't trust me, then that's gone. It's hard to get back.
Yeah.
And I think that's super parallel with the fire service too. So when we have like people that are like our deputies, so we have division chiefs, similar to Boston as district chiefs and whatever. If those guys get hyper focused in the minutia of the call, trying to pull lines and put the fire out themselves, and they lose the overall picture, I think that's just like a great leadership lesson all the way around. And I really like that. Build a team so strong no one knows who the leader is. That's all. I'm writing that one down.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, if you like think about it, I trust so much my lieutenants to say, like, hey, you can handle this fire, right? Yep, I can.
Yeah.
But if shit goes down and I'm not there, they take responsibility, because they were given this mission. They were given enough respect to be like, you can do this on your own while I go do something else. But my lieutenants take accountability for when something goes wrong. They're the first ones to be like, yep, sucked. I didn't do well. I could have done better. I could have had more resources. And I appreciate when people step up to the plate and take ownership of either what went right or what went wrong. Because that's how you learn, right? If you're just like eagle, like, whatever, like, I don't want to be a helicopter mom on my shift. I have a lot of young people, right? They're very green. So when I show up, I'm like, hey guys, what's going on? What can I do for you guys? And it kind of like lowers that anxiety level for them. My lieutenant practice the same exact way. But I think as a female in this position, it's hard for me to like go to like a fire or, like an active, like heavy police scene and kind of have that unified command. Like, I have to kind of be like, hey, you guys, I'm here. Like, I stand at 5'2", so I'm always looking up to people, but I always want that respect, because I give respect. And Boston Fire and Boston Police, like, have been phenomenal since I've been promoted. Hey, deputy, what's going on? Hey, sergeant. Like, we have the understanding of, like, we're going to work together, because at the end of the day, we all have a mission. And if it goes wrong on one end, that can mess up the whole, like, the whole scene or the whole call or whatever. So,
absolutely,
work really well with everybody.
Yeah. That brings up a good. So as far as like, third service agency, I have so many questions.
Yeah.
Like, this is a great interview. So as being like a large third service agency, obviously you guys are charged with the paramedicine and the emergency medical services for the city of Boston. Mm-hmm. But similar to like the medical specialist course, like you guys do have like dive into like specialties. Like, what types of teams do you guys have? Like, because I know you guys have like the urban, you're part of the urban search and rescue team. Like, what are there other teams that you guys are like I don't know, like Boston SWAT? Like, do you guys have tactical paramedics? Like, what?
We do have tactical paramedics, the POP team. At times, like during protests, like some of our paramedics that have specialized on that, they've trained with them. They'll get activated, and if they have to, they go in. We have obviously the USAR team. We have actually really implemented that in the past when we've had people like underneath like the trains. We just had a girl recently under a trolley whose leg was just like hanging on by like like a small little ligament.
Was that the green line? Yes. Okay, I remember that.
That's underneath, and we went and we did our USAR training. We always we practice with that. We have the bike team that at times as well, when there's protests, they'll line up with the police and kind of just pedal and ride with them. We had that during the riots that we had a few years ago. But that became like very, very, very scary as a paramedic over there at the time. And it was like, what are we doing? Like our EMTs on bikes have like the Kevlar, they have their helmets, and I'm like, how do you pedal? Like that's so much on your neck. But
and can you still do like a sick wheelie? I mean, with
yeah,
all
I mean,
that's what I'd be concerned about. Like, can I still
You
do
show
like,
off to the
training
fan,
wheels on mine?
know?
I could probably do
Yeah.
it, but they were picking up their bikes, like they have like the the bags, the little saddle bags on the back. They have their equipment, picking up bikes and going over barriers, and we also have our harbor unit. We have a unit that goes with Boston Police.
Very cool.
From like the end of spring to like the beginning of like the fall, we go. Obviously, we have all the islands, and so we always have an EMT on the police boat. And
cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah. We always have like George's Island, like or whatever. We always have like a medical emergency, so we provide that. We have that. What else do we have?
Logan, you have Logan, right? I mean, I know Massport is involved, but like
yes, yep. So we are like when there's like an emergency, Massport responds, we respond, and then we're essentially the EMTs and the medics that will transport out constantly at Logan. Yeah.
So one thing, and I suspect it's very similar. So we've been fortunate in Cambridge for the most part, like that we have like a steady flow recruiting wise, but I feel like nationwide it's a problem as far as recruiting. And you had mentioned you have a really young agency now, and so do we. Like I would, I'd probably say 75%. Well, if you just are probably 15 years or maybe 20 years or less. Like we have a very young job,
and we're gonna get younger over the next 5 or 6 years.
Are you guys having a lot of the same like recruitment issues that nationwide that everyone's experiencing?
I mean, for us, one of the things is like residency. You have to like live in the city for 10 years, and I mean, come on, like it's like inflation everywhere, right? Like to get like a one bedroom, you're spending like $2,400, and these are young people that are coming from like like the Cape. They're coming from like Duxbury, they're coming from like the North Shore, and then they're coming into the city. Where are we supposed to live? How are we supposed to pay for this? And we get paid. Our EMTs get paid pretty well, but I mean, you're just gonna be living paycheck to paycheck and throwing that into your rent. So we do have like EMTs that come in and I want to be a firefighter and kind of go and just kind of use EMS as like a stepping stone and for the police, but we also genuinely have people that are chasing that white shirt for Boston EMS. So we do have a recruiting kind of department. We have like a few deputies that go out and start doing like the recruitment. We have new billboards that we're putting on the T buses with our EMTs on it to kind of like get people going. We have like I think we're trying to promote to like the city kids, like, hey, city jobs for city kids. But I mean, at times, like it's so exhausting, like people get mandated constantly at Boston EMS. So it's hard to like retain and get the people that go through the academy and keep them for like 5 years. The ones that we do have, phenomenal. The ones that leave us because they either want that schedule, the firefighter schedule, which I would love. You guys have a great schedule, by the way.
It's not the worst schedule out there.
It's not the worst, but I would say that if I was running, like we're fairly busy department, but if we were running the number of calls that you guys were running in 24 hours, I would not be thrilled to be on a 24-hour shift.
I mean, there are times, especially during heat waves, we're at like 510, 540, like like on a good day we're like 425, and most of those
425 calls,
425 responses. Either we're getting refusals, or it's like we're getting canceled, but we are balls to the wall, like we are come out for another one, come out for another one, come out for another one. And sometimes that like illness too, you're like, shit, this is a work and a rest. And like we don't take code 10s. Like we we don't know what it's like to be like, hey, take us out of service. We're going to eat. No.
Yeah.
Some of us have the worst diets, right? 7-Eleven, or, don't bring something that needs to be heated up because you're not going to eat. And to me, that upsets me because our EMTs and our medics are like, go, 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 go. And that's what makes the city run. And it is, at times, I feel like it is not the problem of the citizens that at times we're backed up with calls, or sometimes we don't have enough EMTs during the day. Like, we should be able to provide like excellent, phenomenal care to the citizens of Boston. But at times we're like, hey, we're human, right? Like, we need a break as well.
Right.
Like, when I take off my uniform and I come home, I'm a mom. I'm not deputy superintendent, and when I go to work, I tell people like, I am a mom. I'm a mom. I wouldn't be surprised if they're like deputy mom, because I'm going and I'm taking care of them like I would want my child to be taken care of, because they're so young, and they're like, can I get a holiday? And sometimes I have to deny people days off, and it freaking breaks my heart. And sometimes I go and I look and I'm like, oh, we can make this if somebody puts themselves on the list. We can, get overtime. And your time is your time. You see those memes where it's like, hey, I need a holiday. Oh, you're denied. Well, too bad. I'm not coming in. I'm in an airplane. Like, people should be able to live their lives. But unfortunately, we're not able. And I think it's system wide, like everywhere. Like, I'll go and do FEMA classes and I'll see like chiefs of like departments, and they're like, it's not just you guys, it's everyone. We can't have, like, they call paramedics nowadays unicorns because they're a rare finding, right?
We've interviewed a fair amount of chiefs at this point, and like one of the overriding themes is like people just trying to get qualified candidates in the door.
And keeping them.
Keeping them.
But it's keeping them. Like, what is going to keep a young 25-year-old versus, ooh, there's a red shiny truck, I'm gonna get in it, I'm gonna go do fire calls, and I'm gonna work 8 days a month, So
and I think like it's a unique job, because like in any other, especially state job, you're mandated to have a break time to eat, right? And that's just not the case with emergency responses. So like with the staffing issues, you can't even like offload some of that to somebody else so that somebody can get a half an hour or something like that. It's like a vicious cycle. And I think like that's part of the issue is like, even in the fire service, like there are a lot of departments that can't keep people, that are leaving because like, like you said, you're running all these calls, you don't get breaks, and burnout's real, right? And you're seeing terrible things. And then after 5 or 6 years, you're like, okay, if I can't promote my way up and out of this like spot, which is hard to do, like, I can't do this for 30 years, you know what I mean, to get a pension. And it's a system wide issue. And obviously I'm not smart enough to know the fix, but hopefully there are people out there that are going to work on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, sometimes I feel like, oh God, our department is drowning in quicksand. And then I'll go and do like a 3-day class, and they're like, we're feeling the same way, right? But like you said, burnout rate, it's what it's doing to you when you go home too, right? Like you're taking that aggravation, you're taking that, like, when you go to a call, it's like the patient is always right? They're the customer. But at times, the abuse rate that you're getting, I pay for your salary, I do this, and it's like, you blow up, right? Like,
it's fun. They just had it's been all over Instagram lately, and it was Boston, and it was like, this is what it's like to work in EMS, and somebody's interviewing like urban outdoorsman outside of a hospital who's like,
I think it was on Cops in like the 90s, right?
Yeah, like, oh, I love these guys. These guys are the best. And it's Boston EMS in the background, and the medic there goes, oh, thanks, Frank, we appreciate it. And he just goes, fuck you. And you're all right.
That was a clip from our show, Boston EMS. That was Lieutenant.
Oh, really?
But that's the response.
That's how it is.
You're like, oh, you guys are great, but fuck you, you took me to the hospital. I wanted a turkey sandwich, and I'm like, this is the 5th time you've been in our ambulance, and you spit at us, you yell at us, and like abuse after a little bit, you take that home. Right? I've been guilty of it. Like, I've been like, wait a second, take a step back. Like,
Right.
When my little one was little, I would come home and she'd be like, Mom, play with me. I'm like, no, I don't want to. Like, I'm tired, right? And then I was like,
Right.
why is it her fault? It's not her fault that I'm bringing home. So now,
Right.
when I am off at 7:00, those stars stay at work. I'm not bringing anything from work. I'm not talking about work with anybody in my family. It's not the responsibility of my family to try to get me to live like a normal life, right?
Yeah.
It's my responsibility, like mental health for everybody. Like, I don't care if everyone's like, no, I'm fine. There's going to be a call that's going to fuck you up. Whether you're a parent and you do that first like pediatric cardiac arrest, or you ride motorcycles and you go to that first fatal like motorcycle accident, like mental health for everybody is a must. Like, you need to be able to be good up here, because when you go home, you're going to be shit to your family. And I think at times it's hard for the younger generation that's coming up through EMS to be able to digest what I just said, because sometimes they don't have that life experience that we have. It's all about life experiences. How do you talk to people? How you're able to just communicate, like, let it roll off. Somebody calls you an asshole. Okay, well, it's not going to be the first time. It's definitely not going to be the last time. But some people take it so personal. I'm like, if that affected you, you are in for a long haul.
Yeah, absolutely. And it takes, I think, times too. Like, when you're young, like you said, that stuff rolls off your back, even those bad calls. And then as you get old, like, I know when I first was doing EMS, like getting those trauma calls, you're jazzed, right? You're like, oh yeah, we got one. Again, we were talking about this with Mike Cadell, that it's a weird juxtaposition, because you don't want people to get hurt, but you like doing your job, you know. But I've also, now that I'm a little bit more aged and have seen a few more things, I'm like, oh, I hope this isn't real. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I hope this person isn't actually shot when I get there, or it's like in the ankle and not in the, you know, somewhere else. You know what I mean? So that stuff definitely, like, over your career, impacts you more and more. And, like, you know, for the most part, you're when you're having families and kids and things, is when you're been in the career a little while, and that's when it's, you know, things start really affecting you. And I think mental health is a big thing, especially in EMS.
For me, like, now I go to calls. I get to choose basically the calls that I go to. You never hear me getting dispatched by dispatch. I'm like, I'm always like, C12, add me to that, or C12, can you send that down? I go to some really high profile calls. I have seen people jump in front of, like, jump from like 12 stories while I'm tracking them and being like, fuck, there they go.
Yeah.
That sound of them hitting the ground, like, you don't get over that. But I have to be the one that goes to my EMTs and bring in the peer support group and say, this sucked. We got you. If you need a day off, like, this is the end of your shift. I don't care if I'm down an ambulance. They need to go home. They need to get that sleep. They need to do whatever they're going to do, punch a wall, do whatever that they're not going to do in front of me. But then sometimes I'm like, Janell, take a step back. Who are you talking to? Right? When you provide that support for people, like, I go home and I'm like, cool, who am I going to talk to? Right? So for me, like, talking to other people that understand what I'm going through, it's like, I need to get that off my chest. So that's what I do. But there are some EMTs that carry that with them. And that was me at one point. You know, I did a fatal fire back in 2007 where 2 Boston firefighters died in a restaurant, you know, battling the
I remember that.
Yeah. And, you know, I thought it was just going to be a simple, like, all right, we got the all out, you're out. And that first firefighter came out so burnt. I had never seen anything like that. I was like, shit, what am I going to do? Like, I'm a pretty new EMT, and we had the paramedics kind of on standby. We went right to the medic truck, started doing CPR on him, trying to find access. And all of a sudden the back doors open. They're like, we have another one. And I was like, I can't do this. And we got the second one. We BLS'd him. That's what we call it when you don't have ALS. We BLS'd him to the hospital. And after that, I thought to myself, Jesus, you need to be able to handle these emotions, because you're new, you're young. You don't want somebody to be like, oh, she can't handle it. And I carried that with me for years. And it wasn't until the marathon bombings that I experience needing to grieve what I had gone through in 2007 and get over those emotions in order for me to start the healing process after the bombings. So I am the first person to be like, no, you're not staying. You're not working. Go home, clear your mind, because, you know, I've had days where a child goes out a window, boom, they're dead. My EMTs are like, what the hell? I have nieces, I have nephews, go home. And they're like, I want to stay. I'm like, that call can happen again. And it actually did happen one day. It happened again. And I was so thankful I sent those EMTs home. But I saw, boom, like the kid that fell, dead. And then I went and I do a pediatric arrest. It was a 3-week-old that I ended up intubating myself because we had a paramedic intern truck that they had some difficulties. And that's when I kind of stepped in and said, hey, you know what? I'm the first one to come in here, clear mind. I didn't see the house. Let me take an attempt. I took an attempt and I was successful at it. But I thought to myself, Jesus, if you didn't send that crew home, they most likely would have been the ones responding back to this call. So I think like mental health is everything. It's not like fucking, you know, giddy up, cowboy up. No, fuck that. Go home, get your mind right, because you have a long career. If people want to do EMS now, you need to take care of yourself. And your family suffer because it's everything when you start to just kind of
you have that obligation to your family and to yourself to you want to help people, and in order to help people you have to be reasonably okay yourself, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that at all.
And it's important to have leaders that understand that. So kudos to you. So speaking, you know, obviously on the theme of being mentally resilient and, you know, and managing and processing, do you want to talk about the marathon? Do you want to take us through what that day was like at all? Yeah.
You know, I think like 9-8 years ago, talking about it would have choked me up. It's still kind of, it that does at times, like I feel those emotions, but it's been 10 years now, right? I've been resilient in these last 10 years. I've done such amazing things. But on that day, I had my regular partner and we got kind of reassigned to go to the marathon. We were like huge fans of New Kids on the Block. So Joey McIntyre was running the marathon that year. So my partner Danielle and I at the time wanted to see him, you know, cross the finish line. We were just kind of like fangirl, you know, being fangirls. We were there. We got ambulance 33. We were the finish line truck. We were the truck that was like, if you know, if a runner goes down and they need to go, we're the ones that are going to be like scooping them and going. So we were at Boylston and Dartmouth that day. You know, it's like any day. It was April 15th. It was nice and chilly. And that particular day, we were just kind of standing at the corner talking to people. And I just happened to just be angled the right way. Joey McIntyre comes, I take my picture. He crossed over at 2:38 and like 10 minutes later, the first ball went off. And in my mind, right, everybody's like, oh, was that a transformer? And I'm thinking to myself, that was a fucking bomb. Like, no, that was not a transformer. I was facing it. It was this like cloud. It was this explosion. I felt it on my, like from my toes all the way up. Danielle's hair kind of blew back. And I'm like, what just happened? And I didn't even have time to process what had happened because the second one went off. Immediately. I mean, immediately. People are panicking. Her and I, she's a strong girl. Her and I took the barriers that kind of kept the crowd back, and we just pulled it down and just said, fucking run. We had people running into the marathon course. I'm like, just take off. So it was like, grab our stuff. You know, we didn't take the ambulance at the time. We grabbed our stuff. I picked up my phone. I called my boyfriend at the time. I said, I love you. And told my mom I love her because I was like, this is it. There was one, there was two, there's going to be a third explosion. And we grabbed our stuff. We didn't even make it to the actual site when a Boston firefighter was running with a girl. And he had worked for Boston EMS before, Jim Plord, and he was like, hey, take her. And he gave us this girl, Victoria. And I looked down and I was like, oh, okay, so she has a leg injury. We provided, you know, care. We were. I remember running backwards with the stretcher. Like the back of the stretcher was like leading the way. We went into the medical tent. We took her off. I don't even think we put a sheet on the bed. And as I'm leaving that medical tent, Jeff Bowman, I don't know if you guys know who he is coming in with no legs, looking great. And in my mind, I'm thinking, oh my God, was this a suicide bomber? Is he the bomber? And I was like, this is fucking real. Like, what is this? And he just looked like he was about to die. And we ran back out, and Danielle got called one way, I got called another. And I remember when I ran out, there was this woman, she's holding from the knee down, she's holding this leg like this. She's catatonic. And I was like, put it down and run. Like, put it down. And I'm like thinking to myself, like, what is she doing? Right? Like, what are you doing? Run, get the hell out of here. And it wasn't until I made it to the actual site, the blood that was splattered everywhere, you know, chunks, shrapnel, whatever. The people that were screaming, the people that were borderline unconscious, like, I can't even, I don't even want anybody to ever see something like that. And it was so surreal. I ran up to a woman that I thought she was dying. I'm like slapping her in the face. I'm like, you need to stay awake. And at the time, Danielle got pulled with our equipment to like the other side. And I'm sitting there by myself. I literally took my belt off my pants because that's all I had. And her leg was so like, it was just blown to pieces. And I'm like, she's going to bleed out. And I'm an EMT and I have nothing to do. And I just kind of put my belt psychologically, I think for me, I thought I was doing something right. And I just held it. And then somebody came by with tubing, like that plastic, like rope tubing. Yeah. And I said, hey, give me that. And I took it and I just wrapped it around her leg. And EMTs came. I'm like, she needs that backboard. She needs to go in that ambulance. And just like little by little, I kind of made my way and started just doing what I could that day. But I think after that happened, I think for me, like the worst part was, shit, I thought I was going to die. And now it's 7:00 at night. I'm still alive. How do you like relive? How do you, how are you okay with what you just saw? How do I continue on with my life? And I think that was the part that fucking sucked because we didn't know, we weren't accounted for, right? So it wasn't until like almost like 6:00 that they did the whole roster, like, you know, X-ray 1, X-ray 1 on the radio, X-ray 2, we're on the radio, you know, 8:30, we're on the radio. So the whole roster was accounted for. Nobody was injured. And that's the moment that we were all like, this was bad. This was bad. Yeah. The city goes on shutdown. Everybody's home. Everybody's panicking. People are underneath their friggin' beds because they think they're going to come to the house and get blown up. And I had to get up the next day, put that uniform on and go to work. And I was like, how, like, you know, we still have to work. We're first responders. It wasn't until they got caught or like I found out the first one got run over by whoever uses a speed bump or whatever. And then I'm like, well, he's caught. And then the next day, Jesus, you see that? The next day, did you hear that?
Yeah, I heard it.
Or something. The next day, it wasn't until like the brother got caught that I was like, all right, that's when I started like my healing process. Like, I gotta start getting over this. They're caught, one's dead, the other one's gonna get what he deserves. But I mean, it was a senseless act, you know, and to know that their plan wasn't the marathon, it was going to be 4th of July. I think to myself, Jesus, if they put those backpacks on the grass where people are sitting with blankets, that would have been worse. That would have been,
all vital organ level
coming in to help us out. You know, like it was going to be bad. It was going to be bad. But the thing about that day, we had medical bikes along the route. We had military personnel that were either running or like they were along the route as well. We had nurses, doctors that were watching, you know, as spectators. People became Boston Strong that day, obviously, right? Because it's now like the phrase that we use, Boston Strong or whatever. That day, we had people that ran into the marathon store. There was a Pearl Vision, and you know where like the wooden, I guess, like shelving that you would use for like the glasses. People took that out and like used it as backboards and like were running people into like the medical tent that we had.
Wow,
amazing!
We cleared in 18 minutes. the people that were actual victims that needed help, that didn't self, transport to the hospital, we cleared almost 270 people out of Boylston Street. And Jeff Bowman was in surgery by the time that was happening. So,
Wow.
I'm like, I was an EMT then. I was very proud of what we did as a city. But again, we practice, and some people get so pissed, oh, well, here we go, we're practicing again, right? Now the latest thing is active shooter. Guess what? It's gonna happen, right? It's not if it happens in this state. It's already happened in Winthrop at one point, right? It's gonna happen. Yeah. So practice, as artificial as something is going to be at that moment, when you're like, oh, fucking, here we go, rolling our eyes, right? Like Beverly was great to me. Like we did medical specialist stuff, real life, we can go and emulate that again, right? So like we were ready because we had training. Do I want that to happen again and challenge ourselves and see if we can do it? Absolutely not. I don't ever want to go through something that horrific again. I don't want the newer people to see that. And I also don't want the people that still work at Boston EMS to have to live that day over, because it truly is that day. Like a year later, though, thankfully, I was pregnant, and my daughter was born a year later on Marathon Monday. So now I associate life, bringing life into the world. But there are really some EMTs and paramedics that, they didn't do well after. And we lost a lot of people that were just like, fuck this, I'm done. And we also gained a lot of people that wanted to come and work for us. Like at one point, the president was like Boston EMS. I was like, oh my God, it just came out of his mouth, right? Yeah. So I talk about it because of the job that was done. And it was well done with fire, police, us, everybody that was there. But I don't ever want to be challenged like that again, because it truly fucking fucked with all our minds.
Oh, yeah.
But I can talk about it. Back then, I was like, it's like a mess.
Well, we really appreciate you taking the time to talk about it. It's we were obviously around for it, and everybody watches it on the news, but this is actually the first time I've sat and talked to somebody that was there from the time it happened. So it was really, really interesting to hear about it. And I think you hit on something that I know to be very true in situations like that, and it's partially due to the training, is that you just act, and it's always after the fact that you start feeling, you know what I mean? And that's an important, because once the event is over, and for me, I've experienced it maybe more through the military side, but once the crazy event is over and you just did all of the things, and then you're like, holy shit, I definitely could have been dead right now, and we just did all of these different things. And I think that's important to recognize, that's gonna come. There's gonna be a point where all the chaos stops, and then you're still there, and you have to piece yourself in the situation together. And just back to your mental health thing, it's super important to it's not stuff you should have to see, you know what I mean? So thanks for sharing that.
And I think after that, I had the chance to essentially live again, right? I was like, oh my God, we're running into the finish line to go help people. And, when I was like, Jesus, my mom is going to hate me if I die, right? She's gonna be like, but in my mind, I was like, oh, I'm gonna die doing the job that I love, right? That was my mini 9/11, right?
No, I was actually gonna say earlier, it's kind of like Boston's 9/11, really.
Yeah. I mean, and to me, it's not just Boston. The whole state should be pissed. I mean, we had when I talk about the marathon, it is a big block party, right? People that were affected weren't just from Massachusetts. We had people from all over the country that were affected by this, and they come to our city and our state to be part of such a historical event, right? And then they live the biggest thing. We had people from Connecticut, from the shootings with the kids. I think was it Sandy Hook?
Sandy Hook,
yeah. We had parents across from the bombings. They were spectators in the actual stands, and they were like, oh my God. And that to me is they're reliving. It wasn't an active shooter, but they're reliving chaos again. Trauma. And I'm like, how do you it's like
You start being like,
reliving
why, like, what did I do? You know, like, why
Right.
is this following me? You know,
Right, exactly. And I think it just affected everybody, like the whole state. I mean, the whole state. And when I go to like, you know, like a conference or whatever, and people are like, oh, you were an EMT there, they get so intrigued about it. But I'm like, I don't want you to live it. I don't want this trauma for you. And unfortunately, some people hit the bottle after. Some people lost themselves in alcohol. Some people lost that connection with their family. And I was the complete opposite. I was like, I need to go through the stages of grieving because I need to put this behind me. I didn't do that in 2007 when I had that fatal fire. I need to do this for myself. And obviously, like I said earlier, like I learned how to like live again. Went from promotion to promotion. And now I'm just like, trying to I live by 3 words, right? So you achieve, you evolve, and you execute, and you continue that pattern. And that's what I try to just implement on my EMTs. You achieved getting here, evolve because it's constantly evolving, execute what you want to do, and bring that to the next step. And it's just a pattern that you just keep doing. And I mean, I could have let that day like completely mess me up, but instead, like I became resilient. That's all you can do.
Yeah.
And you always the people that lost somebody.
Yeah, and now as you as someone in a leadership position, you're in a unique position where you can promote mental health and promote that it's important to be open and honest, and that's what builds resiliency, not just, you know, brushing it under the rug and dealing with it, you know, 5-10 years down the line when it becomes kind of a catastrophic problem versus like a manageable one.
Right.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
For historical purposes, there's conflicting reports that Mark Wahlberg was in Boston, Watertown, and Cambridge. I was just wondering if you could shed any light to that.
I wish, like obviously Hollywood. You know, I thought the same thing. I was like, Mark, really? You were there? Oh, like you became the hero, right?
Yeah.
He capitalized
Mark Wahlberg.
Like, his like historic event. It was traumatic for people, but Mark Wahlberg, you'll always find somebody that's like capitalizing from something. But obviously he made himself out to be a hero. I didn't watch the movie, but I do know that there's a section in the movie that I'm in, like at the beginning, and it's a video clip from Channel 4, and it's me and my partner running with the stretcher. So I made it. I didn't get anything from that movie, but obviously, you know, the Wahlbergs, they're heroes, you know.
They make tasty burgers.
They do make tasty burgers. I've actually never been to Tasty Burger. Have you guys been to Tasty Burger? I've never been.
Tasty, but theirs is Wahlburgers.
Wahlburgers. Sorry.
Yeah.
Tasty Burger's also good.
I've been to both. You know.
Yeah. Actually, I'll try and find it.
Lackluster. Just like Mark Wahlberg's physique. Lackluster.
I don't know. His Calvin Klein picture from back in the day is pretty.
He I think he likes the turkey burger, to be quite honest. I don't think he eats burgers.
I believe that.
He likes the turkey burger. I mean, he looks good.
Yeah.
You know? For being a hero.
Yeah. I'm trying to scroll back in time and find you this picture. So there's a story. I was working as a paramedic at Pro, and we were able to like stage all our vehicles in game. I'll never eat Tasty Burger again, not because it's not good. But we were able to get all, I think, 4 ALS trucks that were working the city that night in Cambridge. And we didn't have any calls, but like, I don't know how many burgers we ordered from Tasty Burger. It was a disgusting amount. The entire stretcher was covered in Tasty Burgers. And I think I ate like, it was like a burger challenge. And I ate like 8 of them. I'm trying to find you this picture.
I believe that. Because we had a fire a few months ago, and at the end of the fire, Barry walked up to me and just pulled a burger out of his turnout pants pocket and was like, "Hey, here, do you want this?" And I was like, "What the hell are you doing with a fresh hot burger in your turnout gear?"
Yeah. No, I mean all right. So let me show you the picture first. So the entire stretcher is I don't know if you guys.
We'll throw it up. We'll throw it up on.
The entire stretcher is covered in burgers. I felt absolutely disgusting after. But so the story, what Will is doing, I had just walked back from like, you know how like if there's a big fire, they have like the rehab stand and they had chicken sandwiches. So I ate my chicken sandwich
chicken burger.
and I saw Will over there. So I'm just like, hey, I'm going to take one of these chicken sandwiches for the road. And the guy was like, dude, I don't care what you fucking do. Just if you want another one, just take one. So I put it in my bunker gear. And like I actually got distracted. Like I was supposed to give it to him right then. And then it's like 30 minutes later, I was like, oh, Will, I have this chicken sandwich for you.
Did you eat it?
Like warm. Oh
yeah,
yeah,
he ate it.
I was hungry. Yeah.
I mean,
we were at that. We were working that fire for like 3 or 4 hours. I was hungry.
Yeah.
I love it. I feel like people love firefighters, by the way. Like, if you're a firefighter, people
thank you.
America's heroes, you know, they love you guys.
It's a tough job. Somebody has to do it.
Cool stuff, you know, like at fire sometimes there's like donuts, there's whatever, and then I'm like, can I get one? Like,
absolutely not. Back off.
No,
you don't get anything.
No, not for you.
You get yelled at. Your vehicle shouldn't be there, and I'm like, well, it needs to be there. You know, like
the Boston canteen to the rehab A10. They're pretty. They're the ones that show up and do all that stuff for us. They're in Boston, and they are phenomenal.
They are awesome.
Shout out to those guys.
They really are. During the heat, I had a 7-alarm fire that I was the shift commander for. They were awesome. They were like, here's a wet towel, put it around your neck. Like, I'm like, me? They're like, yeah, like they were trying to like really take care of us. They have the little Gatorade pops that they give you. And then during the winter, they're like phenomenal. They're like, you know, here, like warm yourself up. They'll give you like a little hot pack, you know, the hot chocolate and stuff like that. They're unbelievable. They will travel anywhere. They're really good. Like, it's a really good crew, that A10. Have you ever been to the fire museum?
I haven't had the chance to go, but I do want to go. They just
awesome.
had to move it, right? Because there was a fire in that building, I think.
Yeah, they did some they ended up kind of like renovating it again. I think it's up again, but you should really go and like see it. It's like,
that'd be awesome.
Great. One of our a deputy that retired used to go and do the rehab unit. I don't think he does it anymore, but it was like awesome when I first got promoted to see him there, and I'd be like, he was my boss when I was a paramedic, and then he retired, and then essentially I went and took like one of the spots that was available, and sometimes he'd be at the fire and be like, what should I do? You know, like you were just here a few months ago, and it was good seeing him on calls, but I don't think he does it anymore. It's
all those guys is 100% volunteer. I don't believe they're compensated for the time at all.
That's awesome.
It's great.
So I have two things for you before we wrap up. I think I actually already just forgot one of them. But
typical bear.
Oh, all right, I got him. So we are having Dario on the show.
Oh, Dario's awesome.
Yes. Yeah. Which brings me to my second point. I have recently spray painted the golden tube.
You did?
Yeah, in anticipation of mounting. So I'll share everyone the story of the golden tube. But when I present Derek with it, you have to come over. So I'll have to coordinate.
Yes.
You better invite me.
I will. I 100% promise. So we have, are you familiar with the story of the golden tube, Will?
Oh, yeah, I heard it. I think Dario actually told everybody about it when he had you guys all up there.
The mannequin that was not meant to be intubated.
I don't know how Derek did that.
Yeah.
He literally just went in and intubated. And then when it came out, is it still inflated?
It's still, the cuff's still inflated. I have to put a little bit more air in it, but
again, we were like the rescue side of that scenario. You know, you can't give us that responsibility.
Yeah. So I tried to fit. I tried to my initial plan was to like somehow figure out to like make a small incision in the actual ET tube cuff and put like sparkles inside there. So when you reinflate it, it was just like a golden tube with sparkles in it, but it didn't work great. So
did you mount it on something? Is it mounted?
I have a piece of wood. I just have to figure out how to like, because right now it's just staples and it doesn't look super great. So I want to like go to Home Depot and just get actual like small little
brackets. Yeah,
and I just have to get a little plaque. They're not expensive, but I was gonna put. So we called Derek Prison Derek because he wore that like, you know, he's bald. He had like that Scully cap on. Mm-hmm. So we're like, oh, Prison Derek runs the yard. So I'm gonna get it mounted as like presented to Lieutenant Derek Prison Jordan, the golden the golden
You're gonna
tube.
get like a little plaque for it.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
that's
am.
awesome.
Yeah. So we'll have
That
to
Yeah,
would
have
you
be
you
better
very
on
invite me. I want to go there when you guys present it to them.
Yeah, that'll be
the
great.
plaque mounting ceremony.
We did. You
Keynote
know what? And
speaker,
also, like I tell people like, hey, the Cambridge guys, they taught me how to make knots. Like I didn't know how to do anything, and I was like, how do you make this knot? And I think it was you and Rob like took the time to try to.
Yeah. Well, I initially did lead you astray because I like just put it in like a figure eight on a bite, and I was like, oh, this is the Norwegian spinner.
Yeah.
And later on, you're like, hey, Norwegian spinner. I was like, Janelle, I can't in good conscience. It's not a real knot.
And then like another one we made. You told me another one was like an Australian Shepherd. Like I was like, I'm never gonna be able to remember these. Like,
no,
that's awesome.
I did show you how to do the knots. I just gave you the wrong name. But one day we could be like on the fire ground at like a really complex USAR call, and some like captain of like Rescue 2 in Boston would be like, hey, can you do this? He'd be like, Australian Shepherd right here.
Australian Shepherd ready. It was great. I mean, even like Rob like talking about diving and like
Rob is
like
Rob's one of the we call him Schmob Schmartinello on this show, but he's probably one of the funniest individuals I've ever met in my life. And just like into it, like he loves it.
Simultaneously, like if you spend any, I'm sure Rob's gonna hear this at some point. Rob Schmob, we love you. But legitimately is like one of those guys that is like not only funny and has street smarts, but is like so passionate about his craft that it's infectious. So Rob, we love you.
He was good.
Schmob.
Our team
tolerate you.
Yeah.
But I can't wait to see Dario. That man, he scared me. He was like, "Well, that's stupid. You wouldn't do that."
There was like a portion of the class where I was like, this fucking guy. And then there was like the majority of the class where I was like, well, he's this fucking guy because he's so smart and actually knows what the hell he's doing. You know what I mean?
Remember the time that he was like, do I need to bring my medics here to show you guys how to be real medics? And I was like,
oh God.
I know, maybe
I would have been like, yes, please do. Please.
We'll show them how to do that. Actually, they probably do it better than we do.
That.
Yeah.
You couldn't mess with him. He was like, I wouldn't mess with him. He was.
He had that like dry humor where like you're like, are you being serious right now, or are you like, are you teaching me something, or are you making fun of me? And I genuinely don't know.
There was a point in our group where they were like, the structure is about to collapse. You got to get out. And I was the last one in the tunnel. And they're like, you got to get out. You got to get out. And Taylor was like, I'm not leaving this guy. I'm not leaving him. I was like, you need to fucking get out. And Taylor just started dragging the dummy. And I was like, well, I'm dead. You just killed me. And then we got out. And Dario was like, do you want to go home? Do you want to live? Because you would have died. And I was like, yes, sir, we would have died. But like Taylor's mentality was like, I'm not leaving this victim. And I'm like, well, I can't get over the victim. So I was going to take one for the team. And Dario made it very clear that it was a stupid move. And I was like, I respect that. I respect that.
No, he was a good dude. He made me question my existence and competence.
Yeah, he did.
More than once. Was like, we were under the vehicle.
I did get a compliment.
You did?
Oh, no. Yeah, I had the best stub wrap.
Oh, I saw that.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Although he gave it to the wrong crew.
It was
my stump wrap.
It was the red team.
I was like under the vehicle, and he's like, tell me how like the sodium channel will interface with like the extracellular wall. And I was just like, I just like a lot of long exhales. Like, Daria, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know.
No.
And he's like, well, as pathetic as that answer is, I appreciate your honesty.
Yeah, he was like, no bullshit. But like, if you open that can of worms, he went down it. He would make you look very, very silly.
No, I was not prepared.
I'm gonna say one thing, Will. Okay.
Yep.
You guys slept on the red team. Everybody thought the red team, they're just the red team. But we went and we nailed it the last night. And every little person there that says, oh, well, you guys got the easy part of the rubble. What?
They ran out of patience.
Awesome. We were done in like an hour. So, Will, if you ever need people to come and help you, the red team, myself, Rob,
red team,
Darren, Taylor, Kevin, Paul, remember Paul? And Juan will be there.
Dude, Paul was the heart of the goddamn team. Paul was the heart of the team.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. He
well,
was.
we thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah.
We really appreciate you. So I guess in closing, is there anything that you'd like to impart on the audience or the people that have listened? Is there anything you want to lead us away with? Thoughts on life?
I mean, first of all, I want to say thank you for giving me even this opportunity to come out here and like tell like my journey, my story, and everything. But I think at the end of the day, like, just freaking beast it, live your life, and if you're in a third party agency like myself, as a leader, don't drink the Kool-Aid, lead, and help this next generation, be the best that they can be. And the same thing for you guys in the fire, like, just have each other's back. And I think eventually, EMS in itself and fire and police, like, it's a bond that can't be broken. So just keep that going, and
Absolutely.
mental health.
Thank you so much. Thank you
Yeah,
so
thanks
much.
for
We're
coming.
humbled to have you on. So
Yeah, this is outside of our normal episode, and I think it's really important to do because we obviously love the fire service, but we don't do this alone, right? Like,
absolutely.
it's not, the marathon's a perfect example. It wasn't just the fire department, it wasn't just the police department, it wasn't just EMS running in there. So we don't do this alone. So it's really good to step outside of our normal zone and take the opportunity to hear what you have to say and from your perspective on things. So just echoing Barry there, really appreciate it.
And definitely, I look forward to like doing a call with you guys and getting that bond still there. And don't be strangers. I'm around. And again, like, thank you for the opportunity.
We'll meet for coffees in the middle.
We'll have to have a little med spec reunion.
Yes, absolutely.
That'd be cool.
We should do it. And invite me to the presentation. I appreciate you guys.
I promise I'll be more active in the group chat.
You better be.
He won't be. He's lying.
I'm on the record. It's on the show now.
Yeah, you better. I'll let people know that you didn't text back. It's fine.
All right.
I love our group.
All right.
But yeah, be safe, guys.
You too.
Thank you.
And if you need anything, hit us up, and maybe we'll do this again, or if you know anybody else that think that they might want to come on, let us know too.
Oh yeah, I'll text you guys a few things. It'd be great.
Awesome.
And I'll text you back.
Okay.
All right. Take care. Thank you so much.
Bye, guys. Bye. Thank you.